well done, kids. I really appreciate you. I'm glad you're here. Call regular meeting of the Ashland Board of Commissioners to order. If you please stand for the pledge of the flag and the hymn of nation.
Let's pray. Lord, we give thanks today for the privilege to live in our city. We ask once again to give this board of mayor and commissioners wisdom and guidance as we strive to make the right decisions for our city and its people. We ask for your favor on our board, our city manager, department heads, and our employees, and most of all for our citizens. Thank you for those in attendance today, especially our honored guests who have contributed and continue to contribute to the betterment of our city. Go with us now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to receive and file the agenda. That's second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion to receive and file the minutes of our regular meeting on March 22nd, 2018.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on those? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Hearings and reports. Mayor and City Commissioners' comments.
Just briefly, I just want to welcome everybody today. We have a packed house and a lot on the docket, but I want to welcome our honored guest today. And also, I just want to make mention Central Park is blooming. Go down there and take a picture. And the Little League season opens, I think, in both fields this Saturday. And last but not least, congratulations to Ashland Middle School. Man, they put us on the map. I'm really congratulatory toward them and their achievements on TV and the award, the national award that they made. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Commissioner. Well said. Anyone else? Well, I have a few recognitions to do. First proclamation has to do with the City of Ashland being a Tree City USA, and we have been that for many, many years. Would you like to read this one, Council?
You want?
I will. Yeah. A couple more I want to read.
Trying to save his breath for the big ones.
True story.
Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper and wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they're planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas Ashland has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting ways, now therefore Stephen E. Gilmore, Mayor of the City of Ashland, does hereby proclaim Friday, April 27, 2018 as Arbor Day in the City of Ashland, and urges all citizens to support efforts to care for our trees and woodlands and support our city's community forestry program. Further, he urges all citizens to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of present and future generations.
Thank you, Counselor. Do I have someone here relative to the Sexual Assault Prevention Awareness Month? Would you please come forward? proclamation by the mayor. Through public and private efforts, Ashland, Kentucky has made great strides in both reducing rape and sexual abuse and improving our response to these survivors. These individuals deserve to be treated with dignity and respect by our criminal justice system and society at large. Victims often must cope with the long-lasting psychological, financial, and physical consequences of rape. We recognize our response to crime victims plays an important role in their efforts to rebuild their lives. As a nation devoted to liberty and justice for all, America must increase its efforts to protect, restore, and expand victims' rights. In the state of Kentucky, more than 4,500 people received services for rape and sexual assault in 2017. Also include our 839 family members and friends of these victims who received counseling and support related to loved ones' rape or sexual assault. Let us in particular express our appreciation for those victims of rape and sexual abuse who have turned personal tragedy into a motivating force to improve the rights and resources available to other rape victims and to build a better, more just community. Ashland and the state of Kentucky have adopted laws to protect the rights of victims of rape and provide them certain essential services. Let us celebrate a nation where these laws are enforced. It is up to each of us to do what we can to adhere to the spirit of those laws and those values on which our nation was founded. Let us treat all victims of rape and sexual abuse with compassion, regardless of race, age, gender, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, or income. Now, therefore, I, Stephen E. Gilmore, Mayor of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim the month of April Sexual Assault Prevention Awareness Month, and recognize April as a National Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And I urge the citizens of Ashland, Kentucky, to reaffirm our commitment to victims' rights and America's values, ensuring the rape victims receive our utmost respect, understanding, and compassion this month throughout the year. Thank you. Belinda and Charles, come up, please. This proclamation is in honor of their mother, Carol Jackson, who was extremely active, not only as an Ashland School Board member, who I worked with for several years as superintendent, but also in the years I was mayor before and even as a commissioner, and working with Carol Jackson as president of the Human Rights Commission, chairman of the school board when we did the most building and the most curriculum developments from K to 12 in the Ashland school system. Carol was one of the most responsible board members I ever served with, and a close friend, personal friend. This proclamation is in her honor and her memory. And these two beautiful people are her daughter, Melinda and Charles. Carol passed away recently. Especially young people here today, you probably go to school every day with kids who don't think they have a voice. Maybe they don't. As you grow, there will be people in your community, in your neighborhood, who don't have a voice. Or they certainly think they don't have a voice, which is just as bad. Carol Jackson was a voice for those people. Much of what she did is still there as a voice for those people and people to come. The staff that work with her regularly in ensuring fair rights for everyone, regardless of race, creed, color, sexual orientation, whatever the case may be. She was that voice. Whereas this proclamation is dedicated in memory of Carol Jackson, and her diligent efforts on behalf of many who needed a voice and someone to stand up for them, whether in human rights or fair housing and justice. And whereas Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 prohibits discrimination in housing and declares it a national policy to provide within constitutional limits for fair housing in the United States. Whereas the principle of fair housing is not only national law and national policy, but a fundamental human concept and entitlement for all Americans. Whereas the National Fair Housing Law during the month of April provides an opportunity for all Americans to recognize the complete success in the goal of equal housing opportunity can only be accomplished with the help and cooperation of all Americans. Now, therefore, I, Stephen E. Gilmore, Mayor of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, to proclaim April as Fair Housing Month in the City of Ashland, and to hereby urge all citizens of this community to become aware and support the fair housing law. This being done today in honor of Carol Jackson. Opportunity because you think that there's going to be a time down the road, you know, it's like telling people you care about them, telling people they mean something to you. I should have done this so many years ago, but in her honor, I would like to give Charles, her husband, if you could sit. I apologize a little bit for my demeanor, and then again, I don't. It's kind of who I am. I can't help it. But she was a dear friend and did so much for so many people, with absolutely no knowledge of anybody else, just because it was the right thing to do. Students, do the right thing for other people, and this is where it coaches, where you start. Grade school, sure, but boy, when you get into the middle school, kids learn respect and admiration for people that make a difference in their lives and for other people too. That brings us to a little lighter note for me, for sure. Larry Bailey, the coach, athletic director, English teacher, government teacher, probably, I've known Larry for, well, he's now about the same age. I'm just kidding about that. But I've known him forever. He's one of the greatest teachers in our school district, and certainly middle school, and I know these students would say the same thing. You're okay. You're okay. We don't pay the kids. Trust me.
I don't want to make too much noise. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
We got to do some work, so.
But I know my granddaughters had Mr. Bailey, and he was their favorite teacher, and he taught them a lot. And because he knew he gets it as a teacher. You make sure kids know you love them and care about them, then you teach them. Larry Bailey.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. What do you have for us today?
Well, you know, if I'm coming bring some kids, we've got something we want to present with you. First of all, I want to explain to you how this came about. As you know, your first tenure, you came over to school, and one of our assignments is we find a problem in the city of Ashland or something that we can improve upon. Every student has to find it, research it, come up with solutions, and they quickly found out you just can't throw dollar bills at every problem, especially when you don't have those dollar bills. So two things I want to mention to you today. We're going to mention a program that we thought maybe will improve our winter wonderland. And the second one I'll tell you first also, these students, we found another problem at school that we're addressing right now. With our officer, Patrick, we're putting numbers on every window. Every first responder will see a number when they arrive at our school, which all of you know is quite large, quite long and tall. So every first responder will know immediately where to go. And the numbers have been ordered. They will be on the windows hopefully next week. Chief Kelly and I talked about it. We've got locations, and you know, he worked great with it. And Troy did too. It's great when you can call your city leaders and there's no, well, what? No. What can we do? And that's what it should work. And knowing him quite long, and the mayor, you too, that we're doing that. Today we have, I want you to make sure you know this, these are 6th graders. I usually teach 7th and 8th graders. These are 6th graders, and this was one of their ideas. And Commissioner Perkins was able to come over and see it earlier. Matt and I had served on zoning boards together. And we're going to make just a presentation to you, something that you know, we envision for the future. And I think you'll be quite proud of the presentation, and I know I am. I love these kids. They're my kids. Hi guys, cheers. Well, I'll stand back here so you can be right here. Okay.
Hi, my name is Laura Beth Stanfield. I'm Marla Hamilton, and welcome to our Ashland Winter Wonderland Town.
And my name is,
My name is Tucker Rogers, and this is Santa Claus Drive.
My name is Tucker Keener, and this concept will be located by the old concession stand area there in Central Park. So Santa Claus Drive is an area of kind of like an old remnants of an old Christmas town. So we can build facades of old Christmas town buildings to get kind of that old town feeling.
yeah. You know a lot about Old Town, don't you? That's interesting.
Let's go. Don't be shy.
Hi, I'm Joyce Lopez.
All right.
Hi, I'm Gavin Stutler.
All right.
This is Christmas Tree Court.
Here at Christmas Tree Corp, you can purchase Ashland City ornaments
T-shirts.
and other Winterland Town related items.
And we have it holding up one of the shirts that she made just to bring. Next group.
I'm Candace Nernich,
My name is Dustin Webb.
and this is Peppermint Parkway.
This is where all the frozen frosty treats will be sold. Cotton candy, peppermints, and popcorn will be sold. Snacks.
Hi, my name is Brianna Van Hoos.
And this is Santa's Snacks and
You're not
Mouse.
going to give us your name again?
My name is Laura Beth Stanfield.
You don't have to anymore.
This is where hot dogs, hamburgers, sodas, and other goodies will be sold, and you can also sit at a picnic bench and take in the sights and sounds.
This is Frosty's Playground.
Frosty's Playground is where inflatables and slides can be, so where all children can go and have fun. Hi, I'm Maddie Burns. I'm Joyce Lopez, and this is Carolyn Court. Churches, youth groups, and school groups, and individuals can sing to their heart's content here. And they can sing their favorite Christmas carols.
This is Rudolph's Railroad Station.
This is where older and younger kids will be able to ride a train around all of Winter Wonderland Town.
We believe that it is now located at the King's Daughters Medical Center. We can move it and it will be in a more central location.
This is the vendors for Winter Wonderland Town funding. Vendors of food, inflatables, Winter Wonderland Town items we can use for the city. The timetable for this would be the opening weekend before Thanksgiving, Thursdays through Sundays, 6 to 9 p.m. prior to Thanksgiving.
Vendors' fees return to city for continued keep up with the park displays.
once again, I'm Tucker Keener.
The old town guy.
And our goal is to enhance the light display that we already have there at Central Park. We're not trying to take it over, but we're actually trying to get more people in our community to gather and just all out have a fun time. And we are really grateful for you all entertaining this idea. And we really hope that this will be able to be a thing that we can have in the future.
Tucker, I'd like to hire you for my campaign.
Thank you very much.
Your name?
Skylar Smith. Thank you very much.
He's a man of few words. Man of few words.
I used to be that way.
I never knew then.
It really was.
It's this is just something, and I thought it was really unique that they came up. What happened? It came about. Some of them couldn't find, they were parking right there at the old concession stand area, and we actually went down and looked at that. It's paved. You could use it for anything, and we love the idea of something like Summer Motion, where vendors could come in, and the money goes back into the coffers for the city, just to make the displays even better and bigger. But it's something to kick around. We thought about the Kiwanis sale of the city ornaments. We thought about, I'm involved Big Brothers Big Sisters, having a couple of trees displayed and say, hey, if you'd like to buy some over at the tennis center, you can go over there and help another great charity. But I love their approach to it. It's unique, and I think it's just something else that they made sure I put that last line in. We love our town.
We love that last line.
And as you know, Mr. Mayor, from our debate last year, one of the questions that was asked to you, why should we stay? Well, these kids are finding reasons to stay. And I'm excited about it, and it makes an old teacher energetic and ready to work too. But we appreciate you hearing our proposal. And the kids, they came and said, Mr. Bailey, tell them if there's any committees, we'd be glad to serve on it. Why not?
Well, we'll have them sit down for just a second, because
Okay.
I'm sure the commissioners would like a couple comments to them. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
And to you, Mr. Mayor. Let me say, first of all, thanks a lot for coming, and thanks for being upfront, personal with us about some things you'd like to see. If you remember, as you mentioned during the campaign, that I didn't do so well with your votes out there. They weren't there then. I've just been superintendent of school, redid that school for $14 million, and I thought I lost the balloting out there. My granddaughter was in the group, and she told me later that I talked too much. Well, I thought Chuck Charles talked too much. But anyway, no offense. But I appreciate the comments I got then, and so one of the things, I'm a little bit of a loss for who exactly oversees the Winter Wonderland, because there's a lot to that. Obviously, the park's ours, it's yours, and all the lights we have. But there is a committee, and they do a variety of things to raise money. And obviously, I'm all for all this. Sometimes we might need to. What we will do, Mr. Bailey, we'll get the people in charge that kind of oversee it on a daily basis through that winter Christmas season, to contact you and hook up with some of your students on, well, how can we do this, how can we do that? It could be a project for maybe I know we're doing mostly technical stuff now, instead of building facades.
Oh, we can still do that too.
I bet you can still do that too, but if we just begin this year doing something there. I love the old town look. I like to look through your scrapbook sometimes and kind of show you mine too, see how it adds up. But I think all the great ideas, having vendors, I think many times people would really appreciate that when they come down to ride the train or just walk around the park in the wintertime to look at the lights. And I appreciate the fact that the profits would go back to winter, because we went to LED lights just a few years ago and it cost a lot of money, but man, was it worth it. In the long run, they last so much longer, and they're so bright, so much brighter than they were. But I'm confident they are always looking at new designs to bring into the park. So regardless if it makes any money at all, if it provides the service and and gets everybody in that Christmas spirit. We think that's great. I think it's wonderful. I appreciate it. Anybody else have anything you'd like to ask
Yes.
or say?
Thank you for coming. You have a wonderful presentation and some wonderful ideas.
Thank you.
I got to see the group give me their presentation at the classroom, and folks, I didn't think you could do any better than you did then, and I think you knocked it out of the park today for us, and I'm so proud of you all for taking the time to come here. I shouldn't be surprised how professional you all are, because we do have some of the best kids, I dare say, in the country right here in Ashland. And I think your school has had some major accolades. It says a lot about our public school system, and I'm so proud of you all. And keep up caring about your community, wanting to get involved. You're the next generation. We're going to be handing the keys to you someday. And we want you to know that we're eager for you to be a part of our future together. And I thank you all.
Can you tell I've mentored him well?
Yes, sir.
As long as he's here, I can't supersede everybody's length of time. We're gonna keep going. Thanks, Commissioner. Well said. And I don't know if I'm going to have another chance, to recognize you a little bit. So if you'd walk up, please. This guy is
old. You've already acknowledged that.
This guy has, he teaches whatever needs to be taught. I was kind of that way. I taught English when I was at Putnam Junior High, which is where you're at now. But as I moved to the high school, I was certified to teach I taught English, history, geography, whatever they wanted. It's fun to do that because it's good for you as a teacher. But what I see as a teacher is that your teaching is reflected in your students. You need to take a lot of credit for that. They're polished. They knew what they wanted to say and how to say it. They weren't stiff. You got a sense of humor. You better have. If I'm in the room, you better have one. I had nuns. I went to Holy Family 12 years. I had nuns with big black robes, and it scared me to death every day, including my senior year. But they used to look at me and say, Steve Gilmore, you know what? You're never going to grow up. Now, none of them are alive now, but they hit the nail right on the head. I have not grown up, and I refuse to grow up. If we don't keep some semblance of immaturity about us and not take ourselves so serious all the time, and don't take others so serious. They don't really mean that. When it bothers you or hurts you, they didn't mean that. Don't take it serious, you get over it. But don't take yourself too serious. Learn to laugh at a lot of things. And work hard in school and take over for us at some point. But thank you so much for being here and your comments. We're going to follow up, but we'll also need them to help follow up too. But this guy has developed more students involved in government and students interested in how Ashland gets better. And he impacted my granddaughters. He's impacted me as a friend. And if and when he begins his process to retire from the school system, I'll be very sad, and it'll be a loss, but I'll be happy for him. You are a treasure in Ashland. Thank you, sir. Thank you all. Now, I know you want to get back. What do you got? You didn't miss lunch, did you? What's your next period? Oh, they're checking their phone.
Next period,
Checking the phone. I'd have to punch one of my friends and say, what do we have next period? I don't know what we have. They look at their phone and see.
Is it okay?
It is okay. You can go back to class. Don't be mad at me for that, okay?
Thanks.
Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Now, I was like that in school. Miss Perkins was like that in school because we knew what the alternative was, didn't we? They knocked us winding. You ever hear that expression? I'm going to knock you winding. My mom was the first one to tell me that. Probably the first one to do it when I got to school, but it didn't hurt me. It didn't hurt me at all. If anybody wants to move up, you can. If you're comfortable where you are, that's fine. Okay, City Manager's report.
Mayor, I'll defer to, since we've got the Greg Heisman Blue Water report.
Okay.
Nothing on it already tried.
Mr. Heisman? Glad you're here. Appreciate the comments you might have.
Mayor and Commissioners, thank you very much for having me back. I was here several months back, and I've got 6 brief points I want to brief you on today. One is I want to remind you of the role that I'm in. I was retired as an external consultant to come in and essentially assess where you are with your drinking water infrastructure. I think you all are aware that over the past number of years you've made some significant investment on the sewer infrastructure, and what I've got news to tell you, it's time to start looking at our drinking water infrastructure with reinvestment. So that has been my role, and I was asked at the last meeting to accelerate the process a little bit because we're in the middle of a budget cycle. And so to focus specifically on distribution infrastructure, and for those here in the audience, what we call in the water industry, what we call distribution, are the pipes that go from our treatment plants out to our customers. And then we also use a term called service lines, which is the pipe between the water main and the street into the house. And so that's been a large focus of what I've looked at over the past several months. What I have done with Ryan, your city engineer, I've gone out and looked at main breaks, I've gone out and looked at your storage tanks, your pumping stations, your treatment plants, etc. And again, this is at a high level. I've gotten a good feel after my 30 years of experience kind of in a big city from Louisville, and you have the identical same challenges that Louisville has that I experienced in the 1980s, 1990s, and essentially it boils down to aging infrastructure. And we have to recognize your system dates back to the 1890s. It's some areas are over 100 years old. One of the statistics is over 75% of your buried infrastructure, 75% is more than 65 years. We're keeping it on the books at 50 years. So it's time for us to begin to assess and reinvest in our aging infrastructure. So part of what I've done after looking at physically at the facilities, I worked with Ryan. Ryan has done a massive data dump down to me on what we have, essentially how is your infrastructure behaving? Is it behaving good or is it behaving bad? And what I have found is that after looking at your failure rates, the condition of your infrastructure, a lot of corrosion on the aging pipes, all metal corrodes, we've got a lot of challenges here in Ashland. And I'm here to tell you that essentially it's time to start making some reinvestment. And I've taken those failure rates over the past 5 years and I've compared them to some national averages, like essentially where are we compared to others. Most of the data that I've compared, there is not good data in Kentucky. A city like Louisville has some very good data. It's not a real good direct apple-and-apple comparison. Louisville is much larger. But smaller systems, the Owensboroughs, the Bowling Greens, Paducahs, et cetera, have the same challenges. But unfortunately, Kentucky does not have a good, rich database for us to compare to. But there is national databases for larger cities. Larger cities, Louisville, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Boston, et cetera, have done a very good job of advancing this infrastructure reinvestment. So that's where I went to look at how do we compare. And I'm here to tell you that essentially our failure rates of our distribution piping, again, the piping that connects the treatment to your customers, essentially we're failing at about 4 times that average of what some other larger cities. And essentially it's a wake-up call for us to say we need to start investing. Now the question is, one thing we know is that it doesn't mean that we start with the oldest. Sometimes older's better. We have some cohorts or vintages of pipe that are only 20 years old that are failing at a higher rate, whether it's the type of material or whether it's the installation methods or the hot soils that are around the pipe that's causing it. So in some cases we have pipe that might be 60 or 70 years old that's actually good, we want to keep it. But some other pipe that is younger that we need to replace. So I went in and we sliced and diced this data, essentially looked at it by month, by year, by type of pipe, by size of pipe, done a macro analysis, and it boils down to the big takeaway here is that you have something unique in Ashland that I have not seen in other cities. You transitioned post-World War II with a high growth period using what's known as galvanized piping. Some of you probably have galvanized piping in your home. What is unique about galvanized piping, it corrodes from the inside out and from the outside in. Most of our other piping, ductile iron pipe, cast iron pipe, etc., corrodes from the inside out or the outside in. Galvanized is unique that it cuts both. So essentially the acceleration rate, it's accelerating failures much faster than the other types of pipe. If I had to sum up, you've got to get your 2-inch galvanized pipe out of the system. Eventually you got to replace all of it. And you have quite a size. That's your bad actor, is this small diameter, and it's the pipe that distributes water to your neighborhoods. It's contributing to your challenges with water quality that you have from time to time. Obviously, water main failures, they cause service outages. So it's time for us to start reinvesting. So where we go with this, we know that we're about 4 times. We didn't get here overnight. It's going to take us some decades. I mean decades, not 10 years, likely 20 to 25 years. My experience at Louisville, I started in 1982. It was a 30-year program to get them to where they are today. And so what we want to do is begin the process to start reinvesting in the aging infrastructure. I've looked in the past 5 years, you have spent less than 5% of your capital budget in water on replacing this aging infrastructure. We need to begin to start stepping that up, and we'll start phasing that in, will be my recommendation to you. And what will happen is these failure rates that are high, over time, they'll start to bend. I call it bending the failure curve. From a high level, if it's at 80 right now is where it is, the industry's at 20, 4 times, we want to get it from 80 to 70, then to 60, then to 50, and it will take a persistent, consistent effort year in and year out to get there. So that's the message I want to deliver. Now, what's our next steps? So where are we going to go with this is you asked me to accelerate this component of my study so we could dovetail it with your budget process. So you're in the middle right now of your operating and capital budgets preparing for fiscal year 19. And there are challenges that we all have. The pension, as we're all reading about, is one of those challenges. Well, aging infrastructure is another emerging challenge for you. And so what I will be doing over the coming weeks is working with the staff, with Ryan and your financial folks, about how we can begin the process of growing the investment to begin to replace this aging infrastructure. The early years are easy, because Ryan knows exactly where to go to be able to start replacing the pipes. The more we replace, the more we're going to learn. The more we replace, we can optimize the program. So 5 years from now, we're going to be more efficient at replacing our infrastructure than we are today. So it's a learning process. We want to collect more data. I have recommendations that will be coming in the future to you. Invest in technology so we can pull this data with our field crews, with your field crews, the day of, with an iPad, as an example. So it loads into the database so we can get smarter about the data that we have. Essentially it's called data mining and then performance metrics. So we're treating our infrastructure as a living being, that what we want to do is improve the performance over time. So that's the message that we want to send to you. Now, let's back out big picture and I'll entertain any questions that you might have.
Well, I hope you'll be available when we start budget sessions.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Because that's going to be an extremely important topic for all of us to deal with.
Yes.
So we can have a more
Or dialogue,
yes,
and we get down to the detail to understand. Today is that 30,000 foot level to get you to understand. As the industry expert coming in, is I have validated what Ryan has reported to you. You have underinvested in your distribution piping. It's time for us to grow that investment and do that without taking from other areas, because you'll just shift problems. It's a challenge right now with the current fiscal environment. I completely understand that. There are ways that others that are in the same situation you are in have done to implement best practices to be able to ramp into this. I can't repeat it enough. You didn't get it overnight. We're going to ramp out of this over a period of time. I want to close on this. I'm so impressed with the young folks. Tucker, for example, Tucker's the old town. I want to say I'm learning from Tucker that we got old pipes, and it's time for us to start addressing it. And why do we need to do it? It's for that generation. Because if we don't, what is going to happen? It's going to continue to have significant failures that will impact the quality of the water and the service levels we provide to our customer. It's an obligation that we collectively have, having been in your shoes. So with that, I'll be working closely with your staff, the finance, the capital, the engineering, to say what's the best way to begin this journey to reinvest in the aging infrastructure on your distribution and piping. So with that, I'll entertain questions from anybody.
I just want to thank you for getting back to us on this. I think that it shows our commitment as a commission to our water system by having you here and analyzing the system and telling us what we need to do to move forward, and I appreciate that.
You're welcome. And I, likewise, want to commend you. We get a lot of exposure here with what's called the American Society of Civil Engineers. ASCE has been a big advocate for replacing our aging infrastructure, roads, bridges, railroads, etc. Water is one of those. The nation gets a grade of D, and Ashland is part of that roll-up. And what my mission in semi-retirement is, how can we get the investment that is needed in Kentucky, because my clients are in Kentucky, to start making that incremental investment, so that when we look at where we are 20 years from now, we look back and we can be proud of what we've done to deliver high level of service to our customers.
I appreciate your work, and I look forward to working with you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. I have one other thing I just want to kind of ask Mr. Eastwood about on 29th Street.
Yes, sir.
I understand we're still on schedule to do paving this month,
Yes.
at least the leveling layer.
Yes, Mountain Enterprises is supposed to be beginning the week of the 23rd.
Week of the 23rd?
Yes.
Well, one of my questions is also, last week, I don't think they worked every day. I know they've been working 410s. Is that right?
That's correct.
And are you aware, not whether they actually worked 410 last week
They did. They worked the full week.
in the rain and all?
Yeah.
Well, my main question is, tomorrow's going to be 80 degrees, and it's going to be 80 Saturday, 2 great days to work. Do you have any idea if they have plans to use the good weather? Because then it's going to start raining and get cold again.
I spoke to them before the meeting, and they said that there's a good chance they'll be working tomorrow if they can have precast concrete structures available. It's dependent upon Premier Precast delivering catch basins and manholes. But they don't have much work left on 29th Street before they can reopen it, probably within a few days, early next week. But they plan on working tomorrow if those structures are available.
So where are they coming from? How far away do they come?
Iron.
Oh, well, it should be a tough one.
It's just a matter of if they're cast and hardened and available tomorrow by the time they're ready to install them. So.
Well, we also need to check tomorrow if that dries out again. It's going to be 80 degrees and to keep the dust down on all of those residents and merchants there.
Okay.
Okay. That's all I have. Anything else, Andrew?
No, just on that note, though, Mayor, based on a request, they did have sewer wastewater collection spraying the road down today, so it's that constant back and forth. If it rains too much, it gets too dry, so we'll continue to monitor that. Streets and water distribution have been touching up the road every Friday and Tuesday, so that's a pattern we've fallen into over the last 3 weeks, I believe, 3 to 4 weeks. And just really appreciate when people are down there that they do try to drive the road conditions. Recommended speed is 10 miles an hour. That's recommended speed.
I'm glad you mentioned speed. Did we ever fully address, and maybe Chief, you could answer this, on 168, the speed change there? I know they changed it, then they changed it back, or?
It went back, it went to 45. And we're still working with the residents out there. We just brought the radar trailer back out, or sent it back out, and we just brought it back in. So,
because I'm like you, getting citizens requesting help if we can on speed.
Yeah, we're doing enforcement programs out there, and
it's state mandated, right, for that area?
That's correct.
Yeah. And see, the problem is, when it's 35, they're going to go 45. That's what you know what it's going to do when it's 45.
Yeah, it's 45 until you get to almost South Belmont. intersection.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that was 55. And they've lowered it to 45.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's probably still not enough.
We're going through
Oh, I
council
know.
35.
Right, exactly, on the main, yeah, exactly. You can answer for the wisdom of the state,
I took the challenge on immediately when they made the first change.
and we appreciate you doing it.
And of course, you know, the state ownership of that.
Yeah.
I can't control what they're doing, so.
Right.
Best thing we can do is go out and do enforcement and,
Anytime your guys and folks are out there, I know I appreciate it, because obviously that is a concern, a big concern for the folks that live on this.
and that's the reason the radar trailer's out there. We're trying to monitor it does statistical gathering for us.
Uh-huh.
So we're trying to see if we actually have a speeding problem or if we have an observation issue. So.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks, Chief. This part of our meeting is public participation. If you're here about an issue with the city, we'd like you to give your name and address and state your issue in 5 minutes or less.
Thanks very much, sir. My name is Jerry Thompson, 3861 Leywood Drive. What I have is a matter for information. May come to a recommendation later, and want the commission to be aware. Broad topic, response to opioid addiction. Question we're trying to address is, can we improve, and how might we do that? A small group of us yesterday met with Mayor up in Huntington and his Office of Drug Control Policy, which I think everybody's aware has got a very good reputation for constructive response. Our intention was not to cast ourselves as representatives of the city in any regard, although Mr. Perkins from the commission did join us. He's interested as well. But purpose was to listen and see what they had to say about the lessons that they had learned from their experience. They were very generous with their time and with their observations. What we thought was going to be a short 1 hour or so discussion moved on into pretty near 3 hours. So they were very good to us. We think we did learn a great deal, and our little group, which includes a member, I'm not going to say a representative, because who's actually there sort of changes from one session to another, but a member from our clergy, former law enforcement officer, a member of the community that is involved in opioid response here in Washington right now, myself, and my wife, who are basically just concerned citizens. But in any case, we intend to collect our observations together, reconvene, and prepare a more detailed report for the commission to take a look at. And if perhaps there will be some things that we may recommend for you to consider. I would say right now our main takeaway was the passion with which we saw that the Mayor's Office of Drug Control Policy and the Mayor have brought to their attention to this issue, and the way they have genuinely owned this problem. Very, very impressive.
Thank you, Jerry. We appreciate it. Appreciate you reporting on that.
Yeah, I just want to share the information that we got from that meeting yesterday was important. Plus, it's also, I just want to compliment Chief Kelly and our Ashland Police Department. The Chief of Police for Huntington was with us, and he couldn't say enough good things about our police department and the partnership they have created so that they can all work together on this problem. That is part of the solution. As we know, there's going to be multifaceted solutions, including some stuff that Jerry and Julie are both going to work on, I think, in the future. So appreciate you all inviting me and having me as a part of that.
Thanks, Commissioner. Anyone else like to appear before the commission with issue?
I'm Tolene Thompson, Jerry's wife, 3861 Leywood Drive, here in Ashland. Was out in the garden working. I just slipped this on to look presentable. Think I look presentable. Anyway, I'm here as just like a plea to you guys. Our class has organized, wants to organize a rally on the 2nd of June. And we need a permit, of course, to do that. And I'm going to submit that permit pretty soon. And I'm just asking you all to please support us. This is a rally against the opioids. It's out in the open. I hate like heck being up here trying, because to me it's a downer. We moved back to Ashland. I love my town. And it breaks my heart to see what's going on here as well as all over the United States. And we have to fix this problem, or it's going to fix us, I think, in every way, shape, or form. Anyway, that's what I just walked up here to tell you, and I will put that permit in for too long, and I want your all's support, and I know I'm going to get it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both for being involved in this. Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Sheila Fraley, represent Summer Motion today, P.O. Box 1643, Ashland. Appreciate the commission and the mayor's office, city, approving the festival this year. And we did make an announcement this week of our entertainment, so I wanted to read that. We have our festival will be June 30th through July 4th. We have 2 days at the park, June 30th and July 1st. We'll move to the river on July 2nd with our Contemporary Christian Night. And we have 2 headliners that night. We got Jordan Feliz and 10th Avenue North, so that's real exciting. And we also have July 3rd. We haven't announced our Classic Rock Night, but we're going to do that at the end of May. And we also have our Country Music Night along with our patriotic program on July 4th with Restless Heart and High Valley. And High Valley has a song on the charts right now. It's close to being #1, so we're excited about that for a lot of the young people and the new country sound. So we also have the fireworks at 10:15 that evening, thanks to Todd. And we also wanted to make a plea. We know it's budget season, and we've heard some rumors, and just want to say that we've built a momentum here. Our committee is working hard on this, and we just have a passion for it. So we hope that you think about us when you're looking at the budget. We feel like it's a positive economic driver for the city. It's going to help with getting people in the new hotel that we're going to have eventually, and just the businesses and the restaurants, everything benefits by this. So just keep us in mind when you're thinking about the budget, and we'll be back to talk about that.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thanks.
You all do a great job.
We appreciate it. We enjoy it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I don't know how Sheila does it. She's on so many different committees and boards. Sheila, thank you.
That's people that make things happen are on all kinds of boards. That's why they're on them, because boards want them, don't
She and Ruby Deerfield are 2 women that can do anything.
Good people. You did get the application of the letter in the mail from us, I'm assuming.
We applied, they approved it, and then we had to submit some new documents just recently.
You may want to get Tucker as a volunteer.
Yeah.
Either food vending or sets. He wants to do some sets, old sets. I think Ashland old again.
Yeah.
Easy as head. Tell you what all it is. Okay, thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. Old business item A.
Ordinance City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing, directing the mayor to execute a contribution in aid of construction agreement for the electric distribution service between the city and Kentucky Power Company for the installation of 7 new power poles and 1-phase tap for new service to the Logtown water storage tank at East Park. Department of Engineering Utilities cost of $4,708.20. So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Item B.
Ordinance City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and approving change order number 2 between the city and Tribute Contracting and Construction LLC, contract regarding 29th Street Storm Water Separation Project, increasing the contract by $52,860, Department of Engineering Utilities. First reading, March 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Item C.
First reading, March 22nd, ordinance Board of City Commissioners, City of Ashland, creating Division of Recreation, Division of Park Maintenance, creating the Board of Park Commissioners, providing for appointment of members thereof, repealing all prior recreation commissions and boards of park commissioners, ordinance number 27, series 1999.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Item D.
First reading, March 22nd, ordinance City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor execute an agreement with A&J Properties, installation of water line extension outside city limits at Rucker Mobile Home Park located near Summit Road and Little Garner Road.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Item E.
First reading, March 22nd, ordinance City of Ashland, Kentucky, amending Section 5, Ordinance 21, Series 2012, commonly known and referred to as sign ordinance regarding regulations on outdoor advertising.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Item F.
First reading, March 22nd, ordinance City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing reclassification Director of Engineering Utilities, the position of City Engineering Capital Development Director, authorizing reclassification Public Works Director, position of Director of Public Services and Utility Operations, adopting replacement of job descriptions for all positions in the affected departments, adopting revised and authorized positions listing to reflect this reorganization, policies and procedures, compensation plan, classification plan, is adopted by ordinance 51, series 2017, as previously amended.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Any other old business? Council? Thanks. Consent agenda.
Resolution, City of Ashland, Kentucky, adopting, authorizing, approving the course of action presented by the city manager on items appearing on the consent agenda for the regular meeting, Board of City Commissioners, April 12, 2018.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I did. I just wanted to make sure before I speak. Item 17. Purchasing a backhoe for $107,000. And I did get the reasoning in our report. I'm just concerned based on our budget situation, if we should move, or we should not postpone to maybe budget talks to do that, since we're so close to that anyways. See where we are.
That 1994, is that, what are the, is this a singular one that's different than the other ones we have in service?
It's one of the oldest ones we have, and right now it's only fit for use on the lot to load gravel, so we can't dig with it. With the addition of the 5th crew, in order for us to have a piece of equipment to dig with that is suitable to put on the road and drive to Catlettsburg, we've got to replace that lot backhoe.
Do we have a 5th crew?
We're working on filling those positions right now, and we have a crew truck coming in to man that 5th crew. It's already been approved.
Do we have backhoes in stock now that's already a part of our fleet?
backhoe is a lot backhoe, it would not be suitable to drive on the road and dig, and it's got a lot of defects in it, play in it.
What year are the other ones? Do you know offhand?
I would have to check, but that's the oldest one. A lot of them are, within the last 10 years.
When we take our tour today, would we be going by there to see any of those pieces of equipment?
Yeah, most of them will be out on job sites.
I would mind, I mean, listen, I get that
That
we
one will be there.
need equipment, but I wouldn't mind looking at the equipment before maybe we move forward with this.
Okay.
Do you need it?
Yeah,
need
we
it?
need it.
We got it.
I mean, it's my recommendation to move forward with it. And
Do we have any, but
We have we do have the budget in this year. We're making a budget adjustment on this year, which wouldn't impact next year's budget. So it's, I understand your logic on it, but it is something that we could execute this year with budget adjustment.
even though we are looking at a huge shortfall next year?
This is gonna cause us to potentially not get the work done that the crews will need to do with the water line, water distribution challenges that we have.
How long has it been out of service for being able to dig?
I don't know how long it's been dedicated as a lot backhoe, but up until just recently, we've only had 4 crews operating. We've just implemented the 5th crew. I believe back whenever Mr. Corbett was here, we got it on paper to where we could have a 5th crew, but we haven't gotten the crew truck in yet. We haven't got that last position filled. So I would say within hopefully a month, we would have that 5th crew running. We really need that backhoe. Otherwise, we'd have to either lease a piece of equipment for certain projects or try to borrow.
Do you need it today? I mean, do you need it right this second?
I mean, not this second, but it takes a while
To get it purchased? I know, I think we had the same thing with the police cars. It took a while to get them here.
I believe it's essential, it's necessary. Actually, the water distribution staff approached me about it months ago, and just to get to this point in the procurement process, it's been months getting to this, so it's like any delay makes it more difficult.
With as many requests and inquiries about water, and then we withhold this from you, I'm not for this. I'm for
If you need it, Ryan, I mean, that's basically, we're so close to budget, it's just with the concerns and some of the requests, that I think are coming down the pipeline, I want to be as prudent as I can with taxpayer money, especially when we're looking at a huge problem, a balance in the budget possibly.
I completely understand the sensitivity of this.
Yeah.
Well, we want to keep the work going, and especially when we get into water line replacements. We want everything to be ready to go with that, no matter when we start it, with water is brought to us today. I've got questions on it too, but I'm willing to go with it today. But obviously at budget time, we'll be looking at some way to offset that. We can't just keep mounting up 2019. I know you understand that.
Mayor, if I may, I do want to point out that we did have a work session with all the superintendents, specifically in utilities, as we're trying to prepare the budget for the mayor and commission. There was a group of vehicles, capital purchases that we have deferred, much like the truck we bought last year, where we came to y'all and said, hey, listen, we're talking about $30,000 to $40,000 on a transmission or whatever it was. Please don't quote me on the number. I'm comfortable that everybody in utilities understands we're taking this to, its last breath. It's blowing its last breath and dying. And like Ryan said, that backhoe currently is only fit for loading and unloading down at the yard. So I did want to point that out. I think that the staff's mindset is get every last ounce that we can out of it. We're not building backup capacity with this.
That was my question.
This is the front line.
It's going to be going right out there. I have a couple of things to say. One is, as you've gone through, and I think we've had this conversation, but just to make sure we're clear, when you've gone through these different departmental budgets, I'm hoping all of us get a copy of what you've already taken out of their budgets, so we can see what the items were, how much they were, and more importantly, to see, well, you know, next year, how bad a need was that? We need to figure on next year's budget for it. Gives us a little long-range plan for those kind of capital expenditures. The other thing, Ryan, you bring up a point of driving to Catonsburg. I get a little bad feeling sometimes when I see our backhoes out on, you know, probably going to Catonsburg or out in the county, and they're riding the road, you know. I think there's a danger factor. I don't know if all of them, and I'm sure they are nowadays, are probably made to go 35, 40 mile an hour without any problem. But I'm just wondering if that's cost effective in regard to having a lowboy, and let's run them up there and let them take them off the lowboy, and not all that mileage on that thing, which has got a transmission wise, tire wise, gear system, I don't know, besides transmission, all the stuff that works on it. You follow me? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yes, we try to not drive our backhoes all the way to, like, say, East Park. We will put them on a trailer,
Yeah.
or take the mini excavator, but it's typical to drive a backhoe on the road, even as far as like Catlettsburg or even out towards Summit. And the time it takes to load it on a trailer, the resource of the dump truck, the trailer, and just getting the backhoe to the site. We just don't have that many dump trucks and that many trailers to get all the backhoes to the site. Plus, you lose so much time in the morning just mobilizing your equipment. That it's really the most effective way to do it.
Yeah. They've got to mobilize it when they come in on Tuesday for Wednesday. And another thing is, I think for the trade-off on wear and tear on the highway, plus, I mean, I see them go up and down Belmont, where sometimes you get right up on them before you see them, and I'm worried about safety factor too. But it appeared to me it isn't that much time to put them on a lowboy. I guess my recommendation to you would be simply a recommendation that when you got the available equipment there to put it on lowboy, let's do that. I mean, that's just me. To save the wear and tear on this $100,000 plus piece of equipment. I don't think it's that big issue. Contractors do it every day, all the time, because they've got to watch every penny to make it. And I want the government to do the same thing. I want us to operate like we're even more so because we're working for the taxpayers. But I'd say everywhere we protect our equipment for longevity, we ought to be doing it. Takes 20 more minutes to do whatever. I figure it'd take more to drive it to Catonsburg than to put it on a lowboy and drive it up there and get it off. That's just me, not a contractor. But I'm responsible to the taxpayers.
Just out of curiosity, how long is an average lifespan of a backhoe, would you say?
We get at least 20 years out of them, typically. And then we'll retire them to other uses, like lot backhoe, for just loading gravel, or putting forks on them and using them kind of as a forklift, those kind of things. Usually it's the back digging boom that wears out beyond repair before, like the transmission and things like that.
Okay, thanks. Any more questions? Consent agenda, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. New business, item A.
Ordinance City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing directing the mayor to execute a contract between the city and Mountain Enterprises, Inc. for the replacement of bituminous asphalt material for the 2018 street paving program in an amount of $737,405.50 for the City of Ashland Department of Public Works.
Motion?
Motion.
I thought I'd get 3 eyes on that. Get the asphalt out. You got a second?
Second.
And I guess what's the target date they're gonna have asphalt ready?
After 29th Street is done.
Yeah, I'll give that amen.
And then we're gonna keep them in town.
Okay.
When do you have a spring paving schedule?
We have one about 90% now. I'll go ahead and try to get that out within a few weeks, just so that you can
Okay, when you put it on our website, and then we need to put it in the paper.
Okay.
We need to have it in the paper so the resident can have a chance to see. Excuse me.
It needs circulated to you all before.
Yeah, get it to us first. We may want to add something, or ask how come this one and not this one. Thanks, council. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Item B.
Ordinance City of Ashland, Kentucky, amending ordinance 169, Series 95 as previously amended, commonly referred to as stop sign ordinance, authorizing the placement of stop signs eastbound and westbound in the alley between Bath Avenue, Central Avenue, at the pedestrian entrance to Ashland First Church of Nazarene at 2201 Bath Avenue, and the placement of stop signs eastbound, westbound on Mayo Plaza at the intersection with 25th Street.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Item C.
Ordinance City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and approving change order 3 between the city and Ashland Furnace Company, Inc. and Ashland Child Development Center for a contract regarding installation of a heating and air conditioning system at 1526 and 1538 Central Avenue, increasing the amount of contract by $1,950, Department of Community and Economic Development, through the Housing and Urban Development Community Development Block Grant.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So, Mr. Fulham, we have the additional money in CDBG for that. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. And we have an abstention. Item D.
Ordinance City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing, directing, the mayor to execute an agreement between the city and GRW Engineers, accepting terms and conditions for providing water treatment plant, SCADA, and field instrumentation needs, assessment in the amount of $19,900 pursuant to proposal adopted by ordinance 27, Series 2018 for Department of Engineering Utilities.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Item E.
Ordinance City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract between the city and Marcus Haddon, DBA H&S Construction Lawn Care for purchase of all labor for the abatement of high grass and weeds on residential lots throughout the city limits for the Department of Community and Economic Development.
Have a motion?
Amen.
I'd say that's a aye. Second. Mr. Fulham, is this a City of Ashland company?
Yeah, this is what we hired them. You remember 2 years ago, or 2 years ago, we made the decision to go away from using city staff to.
No, that's all I mean. Is this company located in the City of Ashland?
Yes. I believe yes. I have 2 on there. I wanted to make sure. Yeah, they both are.
Okay. That's important to me. Okay.
What's the timeline for when we can expect blighted
The
properties?
calls?
Yeah.
24 hours?
Well, I'll tell you, even before we have these passed by ordinance, I've spoken with Sean Murray, the Parks Department. We can use their labor if we need to get to some high priority lots before we actually have these contracts.
Okay, thanks. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Item F.
Ordinance City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract between the city and Daniel Runyon, DBA Daniel's Lawn Care, purchase of all labor for abatement of high grass and weeds, residential lots throughout the city for Department of Community and Economic Development.
So moved.
Second.
This is like Pete and repeat, isn't it? This is 2 companies within the city.
Both the
Yeah.
city.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, what we found was, we hired one last year, and one contractor just wasn't enough to keep up with the work.
Right.
And the benefit to subcontracting is there's no benefits and overtime.
Right, the costs were getting out of hand, not just for us, but also for the folks who we had to force compliance, customers for.
Right.
This is actually when Ms. Martin was
Cost
still,
effective.
interim city manager. It is more cost effective for us and also reduces that fee, which some of them were really high for folks to be that force compliant.
Yeah.
And Mr. Poe, one other thing, I didn't look closely at these contracts, but we give them a list. Do they have a time frame that they need to get these cut?
Yeah, we give them as we have a 10-day compliance period for the homeowner to bring the property to compliance. As soon as day 11 hits, we then cycle that to their list. Depending on the number, of course, it could be a few days before they get to them, but that's why we wanted to hire 2 this year to try to get to them within a day or 2 of that 10-day compliance.
Okay. Thanks a lot. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. We have discussion item G.
Request for use of right-of-way, a 15-foot distance between property line and grass area public street to place a 2.5 by 1.6 foot, 6 foot high freestanding sign at 1612 Bath Avenue for the new Governor's Inn on Bath Avenue. It's a bed and breakfast.
Has this gone before any other board, city board?
Has it gone before planning, zoning?
It comes here. It doesn't go.
It doesn't go to anybody else.
Do they have a representative?
Yes, I'm Tina Campbell.
Okay.
Mayor, just so you know, the bed and breakfast was approved by the PCA.
Yeah.
That's what you meant.
Hello. Thank you. I'm Tina Campbell, 1612 Bath Avenue.
Beautiful place.
Thank you. Yeah, we're so excited.
You wouldn't have bought it.
I know. Yeah, it's actually just going to be a smaller sign. It's on one pole, which is a black cast iron pole that we're waiting to come in, hopefully on the 16th of this month. And we just want to put it pretty much, if you go down back, you'll see the walls there where the homes are. It's in between the brick wall and I should say, concrete wall and the sidewalk.
Okay.
That's where we're recommending to put it.
I'll vote for it if I get some breakfast out of it.
Yes, of course. We're having the grand opening May the 5th, so I hope everybody will stop by and take a tour. And
Sure.
Well,
I'm just teasing.
We stay in
Not really.
I'm not.
They all have really good signs, that's important for you.
It is,
too,
so it's someone to know exactly where it's
It's
located.
an inviting place.
And we tried to make it, it's not really a lit up sign or anything like that, so we wanted to make it nice for the neighborhood as well.
Right. Okay.
Welcome to the neighborhood. I'm for it.
Thank you.
Should that approve today? Okay. That was a motion.
We have to vote.
Okay.
Parties here, motion to accept.
Make a motion to accept.
Have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. I see you gentlemen and women on May 5th.
Yeah, that's just the sign approval. Sign approvals come to you, they don't go to PCA.
Item H, discussion item.
That is for a public right-of-way request for 25 by 80 feet area from the alley property line and 8th Street at 800 Winchester Avenue. This is the B.
Yeah. Motion. Okay.
Make a motion to accept.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign.
We will come back with the right-of-way agreement.
Okay. Other new business?
No.
Okay. Have a motion to go into executive session on personnel, individual personnel. All in favor? Aye. We have one item on individual personnel. Only individual personnel will be taken up, and there'll be no votes cast. And that's our only item. I don't know how long we'll be in there, but you're welcome to leave or stay, whichever. We appreciate you being here today. Thank you.
And then we're going to come back in and either adjourn or do whatever you
I'm going to recess again, but I want to, on the minutes, that Commissioner Clark is on a recruitment trip out of state, and that's why she's not here today.
Well, it might have been good to say that when people were here.
Well, I didn't have it in front of me when they were here.
That did a lot of good.
Okay, I don't know if I talked to either one of you yet, but I called Dave Green this morning about 8 o'clock this morning. So what we're gonna do is we'll recess, get on the bus, then we're gonna come back here, we'll recess till Tuesday morning at 10:30. We're gonna go to middle school, reconvene there, and only do one thing is present the students and staff proclamation in front of the whole student body.
Correct.
Okay? Dave was pretty excited about it. So we're gonna recess to go look at, do I need to recess? Okay.
We're still in the meeting, but we're still all fine, I guess.
Okay.
You just want to leave? We'll leave it on the